Awesome. So, hello again, everybody. Hello to all the Mautic veterans out there, and hello to all the new community members. My name is Niklas. I work as a community manager for Factorial company in Hamburg, Germany, and I will be the track lead for today's session. And with me on stage, I already have the speaker of the session, Sven Döring. Sven, nice that you're here. Looking forward to your session. And he will be presenting CDP-driven marketing automation. And since the schedule is a little bit tight, I would say let's just jump right in. And I will just give a little introduction to Sven. And then, Sven, the stage is all yours. So Sven is working as a head of data and analytics at VML in Germany. And what he's basically doing is he is supporting clients to do database marketing and database client management or customer management, and basically sharing or collaborating on strategies, developing them together in order to let their business grow and also let their business be more effective, of course. In addition to that, there's more. He's a team lead, marketing team in the Mautic project. And one of the key goals that he put up for himself is to make Mautic more famous and to introduce it to companies and enable companies to use it more effectively and more efficiently in order to communicate with their respective clients. And in addition to that, there's more. Sven, you do a lot of things. Since 2021, he's also working as a freelancer. And here it's a very special interest of Sven to support small and medium companies, especially from the region. You didn't mention where you are, where you're from, Sven, but I guess that can be part of your presentation in a couple of seconds. And yeah, many of those companies struggle kind of like competing with the bigger marketing and PR machines and agencies that are out there. And another interest of Sven is to support founders and regional, let's say, based companies to have a better online presentation and have a better and more efficient communication with their target audience. Sven, that's a lot. I don't know what you will talk about now, but let's give it up for Sven. And Sven, the stage is yours.
Hi, welcome to my session. Thanks for the really, really lovely introduction. Yeah, it's quite a mouthful, I would say, that what I'm doing, and you also enabled me to flip a few slides of my upcoming presentation. So thanks for that as well. I'll try to share my screen. Give me a second, and we can start with a topic of today, CDPs and marketing automation. I hope you can all see my screen, my presentation. I would love for short feedback in the chat if it's already running, because I basically, so yeah, thanks for the hands up, for the thumbs up. Cool. So what are we talking today, or will I be talking today? I'll be talking about the role the so-called customer data platforms might play in marketing, and especially what role they play in concert with marketing automation. And for that, I will skipping most of the introduction because Niklas already most of it. Then I'll give a quick overview over know about CDPs and what is a CDP, what is a CDP, what is not a CDP, what is a so-called golden record, because that is a term that one stumbles upon when it comes to customer data platforms. Then I will talk a little bit about how they become the heart of marketing automation, so to speak. A few key functionalities, a bit about the topic of real-time data handling, because that is something that gets touted a lot by a lot of vendors. And is it important? Is it not important? When is it important? And when not so much, maybe. How CDPs can help you enhance user journeys. And one of my pet peeves is how marketing technology in general and CDPs especially impact the organizations that use them. After that, I will talk a little bit about best practices, just a few heads up when thinking about introducing a CDP. As we are at the Mauticon today, I will talk about Mautic and CDP, or how they can play together, and a few words on what I see as parts of the future of marketing automation, then concluding that with a thank you and a QA, and I'm really, really looking forward to you. So let's dive in. Introduction. As said, my name is Sven. I'm head of I'm leading the marketing team of the Mautic project. That's what I do in my free time. When I'm working in my day job, I'm, as said, head of data and analytics at a digital agency, VML Germany, part of the VML family, of the global agency family, and stuff like that. And I have a sweet tooth, you could say, for region. So I really like regional food, good food. I really like farmers who do good work, and I want to support them. And that basically is what I'm doing as a freelancer, sometimes helping them reach their audience. I'm located near Hamburg, Germany, northern Germany, and doing a lot in the region called Schleswig-Holstein based on that. And if you see my background, I also have a soft heart for cats, especially cats from animal protection efforts. So yeah, you might see a cat or two running around in the background, maybe. So what is a CDP? Basically, as said, a CDP is a so-called customer data platform. It's basically a piece of software that aggregates and organizes customer data from multiple touch points, especially both online and offline touchpoints, and creates a unified customer profile from that. And it also enables activating this profile. So using this profile, using customer segments and stuff in your marketing, be it in marketing automation, be it in classical display advertising, be it in social media advertising, or in organic social media targeting. So it basically collects quite a lot of data, and should collect quite a lot of data, and also enable the activation of that. It will become more clear what I mean by that, but basically you can integrate first-party, second-party data, third-party data, and also offline sources, as said. But, and that's a big but, basically, because a lot of things that get sold as so-called customer data platforms basically are not customer data platforms. A lot of the marketing terms around CDPs are slightly enhanced CRMs or DMPs, and lack quite a few important capabilities, especially in the activation part or in the profile stitching part that we will come to later. So there is a so-called CDP Institute that has a really great list of features that a real CDP should have. And if you ever have the need in the company that you're working at to implement a CDP, or to select a CDP for implementation, take a look at what this CDP Institute does, and what they advise a CDP should be capable of doing, especially as tools like the Gartner's Magic Quadrant not always tell the truth. So even if you win the Magic Quadrant, that doesn't guarantee you fulfill all the boxes that I would say are necessary for a CDP. The so-called golden record. Golden record is basically the single source of truth when it comes to your customer data. It's the comprehensive and unified customer profile that is integrated by that is created by integrating all the sources. So let's say you have an online shop, you also have an e-commerce shop, you have physical locations, and you have an app. And people can buy from the browser on their laptops as well as in the app, but they can also scan their receipts once they have bought something in the physical store. A CDP would enable you to tie all these channels together and much more, and create one holistic profile, so that basically knowing what they bought offline could inform what not to advertise to them in future campaigns. Because maybe they looked at it in the e-commerce shop, and you would think about doing remarketing on these products, but knowing, because your CDP knows that, because they scanned the voucher and the receipt and are logged in your app, knowing that, you would refrain from investing money into remarketing, because basically they already bought that stuff. And that's basically what the gold record means: the single source of truth about your customer interactions with your brand and your offerings. Yeah, at the heart of marketing, basically, as I said, the CDP would integrate all data sources and could activate in all marketing channels. That would mean it gets the central spot on stage, so to speak. With its unified customer data profile, you wouldn't segment in your marketing automation tool, but you would segment basically in your CDP and tell your CDP, quote unquote, of to activate that segment through marketing automation tool like Mautic, what I will come to later in the talk, or through social media, or through push notifications in your app, through another tool, or whatever. So the CDP becomes the conductor in the orchestra that is your marketing effort, and that are all your marketing tools, basically. So it's not only the single source of truth for the customer profile, but it enables all the marketing to be tied to be seamless across all channels. So basically, as I said, you could use it, and as you can read on the slide, you can use it for personalization across channels, so that the same message is reaching the customer when they browse the web as display advertising, as when they read the newsletter that has personalized parts in it, as when they enter your web shop and get greeted with a personal product recommendation, as well as basically if you have an app and have recommendations in there. Or even maybe, I know of a case where a fitness center used the CDP to have the trainers in their locations recommend fitness sessions to their customers based on the CDP profile. So you can even use a CDP to do in-person recommendations at a physical location as part of your personalization efforts, for example. Or and in the same way, it also helps in enhancing your campaign effectiveness, basically. So as I already said as an example a few slides back, if you know what people bought offline, you wouldn't need to advertise for these products and save money by that and create effectiveness measures by that. But you would also, as you can target your customers better and send them better targeted messaging, you would become less spammy, because you would send more stuff that they actually are interested in. So you increase customer satisfactions or prospect satisfactions by not being spammy if you do it right with the CDP, while also increasing the effectiveness of your marketing measures and basically saving money in the process. As I already said, this goes across channels. So you can use it to create a unified brand approach across channels and a unified offering across channels, and coordinate when and how to reach your customers. And also you could coordinate to not be spammy again, because you only use the preferred channels of the potential customer or your existing customers, as well as limit the amount of marketing messages that reach that customer, basically, as to not be seen as too spammy. So how is that possible? How does a CDP create that functionality, or what functionality does CDP need to be able to do that? I will just focus on a few key functionalities here and start with data integration. Basically, also one of my main topics in my day job, consulting clients and helping them create data integration strategies day in, day out. Because as a CDP integrates multiple customer data sources, it also receives data in quite a few different formats. Just think about one tool naming the field for the first name, first underscore name. The second does first name with a camel cased uppercase N, and the third tool names it first name, all lowercase but one word. And you would need to basically create a data model that tells the CDP that these three different keys or field names are basically the same information. And this mapping, this creation of the data model, basically is one of the most important efforts, and it is can become quite effortful depending on the amount of data sources to integrate, and the amount of data being integrated into the profile. But if done right, this down the road makes working with data so much more easy, especially if you have a good data model that can be extended over time, and especially if your CDP allows for such a data model. Not every vendor does that. A lot of CDP vendors will force you to use their data model and map everything onto their data model. There are quite a few notable exceptions, like Bloomreach, for example, who have quite a flexible and great data model building capability, I would say. But yeah, basically, as everything in IT, garbage in, garbage out. So taking care and effort into crafting a good data model is really key for a good CDP strategy here. Yeah, profile management. We already talked about profiles. A good CDP can manage profiles and updates to profiles in real time. We will talk about real time later. So just real time does not always mean real time, but basically it enables every marketing channel to use the same up-to-date data profile and stitch them together. We'll talk about profile stitching also in a few moments. Yeah, so managing the user profile, ensuring that it is up to date, ensuring that specific channels are only allowed to use specific data for data privacy reasons, or because people only gave consent to be contacted via email, but not via WhatsApp, for example, but others are only allowed to be contacted via WhatsApp, but not via email. All that is done in the profile management part of the CDP, and especially the part about content management. That's actually the biggest selling features if you talk about or if you think about using a CDP in a big corporation, because it makes content management much more easy. Audience segmentation. We all know how to segment. If we use Mautic, we create segments, we use segments, we think about how can we segment our audience into segments that are meaningful. And basically a CDP is, you can think of Mautic segmentation on steroids. You have much more data points, you have much more or a much richer profile that you can use for segmentation if you do it right. And then you can create much richer campaigns, basically. So this is just an evolutionary step, I would say, but it's an important one from a marketeer's perspective. Yeah, identity resolution sounds scary. It doesn't mean I can do I can get any identity information about anybody if I'm using a CDP. No, that's not. But identity resolution means, for example, if you enter a website on your mobile phone and register for a newsletter there, and you also enter the website on your desktop machine in a browser and just browse it there, a CDP would have two different profiles on you. You would have one profile that is tied to your email address and that is somewhat less anonymous, I would say. And you have one that is purely anonymous but contains a bit of behavioral information. What topics are you interested in on this website? What pages did you browse and stuff like that? The same actually like in Mautic. And the same would happen if you now click on an email on your desktop computer, a newsletter you received from that website, and enter the website via a link from a newsletter. The information that you basically are the person, the same person, or you have the same email address as the person who registered for that newsletter on a smartphone. Now the browser session on your desktop and the browsing session on your smartphone get tied together into the same profile. And this way you have a so-called deterministic profile stitching because you have one clear identifier that ties together those two profiles, those two cookie IDs, basically, something that Mautic also does. A different way, something that Mautic doesn't do, is probabilistic matching. A lot of CDPs offer that. I advise not to mix these two methods if you're ever using a CDP. Probabilistic matching means, okay, I have a user from that IP address with that interest graph that also has visited this and that. And I have a second user from the same IP address and location with the same or a very similar interest graph and stuff like that. So a lot of, and probabilistic matching would say, okay, through statistical methods, it would say, I am fairly sure that this is the same person. Maybe even if you're using an incognito and also a non-incognito mode, so you wouldn't have the same cookie, but basically the same screen resolution, the same IP address, the same fonts on your system and stuff like that. You could do fingerprinting and then do probabilistic stitching. A lot of companies, outside of the EU at least, a lot of companies use probabilistic matching to do remarketing and do marketing. Because if you have a false positive in there where, well, I might receive, if I am being targeted wrongly, I might receive a bit of wrong advertising, but that's okay. But nobody would basically use probabilistic matching to send me an invoice. So that's a bit about the differences there. But unifying a customer profile at least helps you understand the customer better. So my next pet peeve when it comes to CDPs is every vendor talks about real-time here, real-time there. And we need to differentiate basically between real-time data handling and real-time, for example, personalization, but we'll come to that. So real-time data handling has two aspects. The data would need to reach the CDP in real time, so it must be stream data. So like okay, user clicked that page on your website, and then another page on the website, and the third page on the website, and all these website hits would need to reach the CDP in real time. That's okay. But for example, if you have a process that collects data and sends it only once per hour. That data could also be processed in real time once it arrives, but the frequency would still be only hourly updates to the user profile. So real time in case of batch processes is something different than real time in case of streaming processes. And while streaming data could be used in real time, batch process data would not be usable in real time, basically. And when it comes to real time personalization, use cases where it might make sense to think about real time if you're at the right scale. So basically, it's a question: do you need that? For example, do you need to personalize the product recommendations for somebody in an e-commerce shop if they change from one product to the next or from one product category to the next? So within the next page view, do you need to update the profile and use the updated profile for product recommendations? That would be real time. Or is it totally okay to use a slower process, so to speak, if you send out personalized emails like you do with Mautic, and have a like in Mautic, have a cron job basically that calculates the user profile every few minutes and uses the updated profile to send out a weekly newsletter, then with updated and personalized information or recommendations for products. So depending on the use case, do you need real-time personalization or do you need real-time activation? I would say in a more general manner, and that's what constitutes this slide. Basically, in a lot of cases, from my experiences, even in big global companies, real-time data is actually overkill. I know a few companies, and I've worked with a few companies who really needed real-time updatable information and to use it. And then know one CDP vendor, for example, they work with a global, or not global, but I think at least a multi-country streaming service. Real-time there means from somebody starting a movie to the profile being updated and usable for updated film and TV series recommendations, it takes 1.4 seconds. So after 1.4 seconds, basically the app on your phone or the app in your TV could show you different movie recommendations based on the last movie you rated or you watched. So that's real time means in this case is 1.4 seconds, and that's quite an impressive feast given the scale that they are doing that at. But okay, I've just got the info of 5 more minutes. So as I said, balancing real-time needs and efficiency is something just to keep in mind. What is the good when using a CDP? In my intro, I said that I have a sweet spot for local organic food producers and farms when it comes to using a CDP program or they actually use a CDP. I know them. They have a loyalty program, and this loyalty program, basically, I scan. This is the only one I use. I scan my card whenever I'm with buying at their place, and I get email recommendations about events at their farm and new products and all the stuff. They not only sell their own products, but they sell eco-friendly products from basically all over Germany. And what they also do, and that's the reason why I always use that card, basically, is 1% of all the revenue that I generate with them automatically goes into nature conservation efforts. Sorry, and just by that, they produce value for me, because I know that they do a lot, but they also, on top of that, give out 1% of all revenue I generate when I scan that card. So that is already value for me personally. And that helps in me using the card more often. All the other things for me are the cherries on top, basically. And I think a lot of companies could learn from that even the program in itself, regardless of the communications that they send out with that program, even the program in itself could also already provide value. That is something that they do really, really good and that a lot of companies could learn from. As I said, seamless user experience across all channels, regardless of marketing and communications. That is something that is really, really important. Just to tie it up, because it's important, if you use something like a marketing automation tool, you will see that, or even more so if you use a CDP, there will be impacts on the organization that is using that. You will have increased data governance insights. So basically, if you do it right, your data privacy officer will actually love you and become a champion for a CDP effort. If you're interested in that, just talk to me afterwards, because that's a topic I can talk half an hour only about that topic. It will transform your marketing because it will enable you, as I said, to do seamless cross-channel holistic marketing campaigns. So, and it will also enable you to become less spammy. But it will also have an impact on your content production. You would need to think about using content, especially if you do recommendations and personalizations, more in an atomic way and combine atomic pieces of content into offerings based on finer grained segments and context information that you have when doing marketing. So the way you create campaigns and the way you create content for campaigns would change and would become more agile and more flexible. And a lot of companies actually struggle with that part of the equation. Best practices, just a few. As I said already in the beginning, garbage in, garbage out, ensuring high quality data going into the CDP makes it usable and enables data-driven marketing strategies, basically. If you put in shitty data, you will get shitty campaigns and shitty results. You actually need to include all data sources if you're using it, because for example, the example from, if you don't include your offline channels, then basically you would not be able to stop remarketing for products that people bought offline, and you wouldn't lift all the efficiencies that you could lift within CDP. And the landscape is always changing. So there isn't a week when I not learn something new from the space of marketing technology, and especially from the CDP space right now. So it's continuous learning, and pardon my French, unsilo everything. Basically, a CDP would enable you to tie together sales, marketing, customer service into a holistic, customer-centric approach. But a lot of companies also struggle with that because they are so used in thinking and working in silos that unsiloing them is actually the biggest effort when doing such a program. A few last words on Mautic and the CDP. Basically, if you're using Mautic as a standalone tool, you do segmentation in Mautic, you have your customer or your visitor or your lead profiles in Mautic. Maybe you integrate it with the CRM, then you get already the situation that you have basically where does the user profile lie, where do you segment and all that. It's the same with the CDP. Basically, you do the segmentation in the CDP, and your customer profile resides in your CDP. And you use Mautic for marketing automation. Basically, the CDP is the conductor that tells the first violin Mautic when to play. That's basically how you would set it up. And you would then set it up in a way so that Mautic receives the real-time information when it needs it for its campaigns to run. But it would also enable you to have more fine-grained campaigns, as I already said, more richer campaigns, more richer communications with your audience, and better personalization in emails, for example. So Yeah, the future of marketing automation is just me looking into the orb and trying to play a bit, sitting in a big high tower in Harry Potter land and looking into the future. I think as most CDP vendors include AI in their CDPs nowadays, I think AI will somehow enhance marketing automation, even if I struggle to see the real use cases where it enables a real win for the end customer. But in the end, it will probably enable us to create more content more easily, and that way create more and better personalization and personalized campaigns. But let's see what comes out of the AI thing in the next 1 or 2 years. And omnichannel automation. I think automating more and more channels, like Mautic does with email, like Mautic does with recommendations on websites, and as well as text messages or WhatsApp or whatever you can integrate there, basically. I think we will see much more in the space of physical locations with displays that basically get personalized when you enter them. So let's see what happens especially in the offline world when it comes to marketing automation in the future. Yeah, basically let's wrap it up. Open the stage for your questions, and thank you for joining. I always enjoy talking to people in the Mautic space, and hope you had a bit of a good time with me presenting, trying to find the way to stop that. So yeah, now it's back on stage. Hi, Niklas. So let's see what happens in the
There
chat.
we go. I think we had a very good time. I'm pretty sure about that. Thanks for your session. Some people might notice that I have a different background now. I had to rush and find another meeting room in my office as it's very, very, very busy today. Yeah, Sven, thanks for your session. Shall we have a look into the Q&A section? There are 2 questions right now in there. And let's start with the first one right away. It's coming from Daniel, and Daniel is asking, which open source CDPs do you recommend? I will just put the question on the screen for a second.
Basically, it depends on your use case. I know of 2 that basically come to mind. It's Unomi, that's an Apache project, or a project under the Apache Foundation umbrella. And it's a really, really, really great piece of tech. It enables quite a lot and is really capable, but it doesn't have any front end. It's just a backend service. So basically, if you want to do segmentation and stuff like that, you would need to code your own front end, or look for a vendor that is using it and providing it basically as a software as a service tool. I'm looking at our lovely friends from Drop Solid there. I know that they are using Unomi in their DXP offering. So if you want to use that, it's based on open source, but it's a proprietary offering because they coded a front end for that. And then there's Tracadi. I have not used Tracadi myself. I've tested it in a play situation, in a pet project way. I'm quite impressed with what they do, actually, but it's still on the way to, I think, 0.1 version. So I'm not sure how stable it is right now. But these 2 I would recommend to check out, depending on your use case, basically. I see Vivek is asked, which CDP platform do you use? Personally, I don't.
It's like a kind of a follow-up question there. Now it would be interesting whether those are then what you say.
Yeah,
I just put it on stage again.
Yeah. So actually, if I also, it depends on the use case. So I personally, neither as a freelancer nor in any capacity, even in our agency, as a B2B client working, B2B company working for other clients, we don't have a CDP and we don't actually use one. We are well served with the CRM, basically. I have a few clients for example, in the e-commerce space that are really, really well served by Bloomreach. Lovely folks over at Bloomreach. I have no ties to them, but I really like their tech, and I really like what they do and what they enable us to do. As said, I really like what Dropsolid is doing with their digital experience platform, using open source components to provide a holistic digital experience platform. So if you need that, if you need marketing automation and a CDP and a content management system in one go, and think about that, I say go for them. For example, if you're working for a company that is already using a lot of the Adobe tools like Adobe Analytics or Adobe Target, or using IM as a content management system, check out Adobe, out Experience Platform. It's quite hefty in terms of pricing. And it only makes sense as a platform if you're using it, all the other tools basically in the suite. The same goes for Acquia, our friends from Acquia. They have a CDP offering. And if you're using a lot of those tools in their suite, check out their CDP. I'm not sure about the pricing, though. I know they had a quite hefty price tag a few years back. I think they changed that, but I'm not sure. But it depends on the use case. If you have some specific use cases, Vivek, ping me, ask me. The same goes for I think it was David. You can find me in Slack, basically in the Mautic Slack. Ping me there.
Awesome. Then I would say we have time for one more question coming from Martin. So I just put it up on stage.
Yeah, basically, if you're doing marketing automation and someone also have a CRM tool maybe integrated with that, that is the foundation. And I would always recommend start with doing something like marketing automation with Mautic, maybe doing 1 or 2 channels, maybe integrating more than your e-commerce shop or whatever you have in there. Switching to CDP does make sense if you have offerings in multiple channels, if you have multiple touch points where people interact with your brand. So, as I said, if you have and basically if you have a revenue in the 7 figures, somewhere in the 7 figures and above, or if you have multiple markets or multiple brands you're serving, then it makes sense. Combine multiple markets and multiple brands with multiple touch points, like an app, an e-commerce store, a website, maybe even physical locations, but that's only a bonus. Then you come into the range where CDP starts to make sense if you want to do personalization across channels. Before that, build the basics, and Mautic will serve you totally.
Right. So there was one last question coming from the chat, but I think you just answered it because it was related to like what size of customer is ideal to implement a CDP. In this case, Jeremy asked like when you consider ROI and customer acquisition costs. But I think that, I mean, of course, that depends. Again, you the most preferable answer. Yeah.
For example, you don't start a CDP project below higher 5 figures, 50, 80, 90K, 100K. That's the level where you can think about starting, also in terms of costs of manpower or women power, people power, in terms of thinking about creating the data model and all that stuff that goes into such a project. And it takes quite a bit of investment to start. Maybe not so much, as said, if you're already in something like the Acquia suite and just don't have their CDP, but all the data, and you want to start using that, it might be cheaper. I don't know, because I actually don't know their financials right now. below a 7-figure revenue, at least annually, I wouldn't think it makes much sense. But it depends. So I, for example, don't know if just one thing. I don't know if Dropsolid, for example, has a testing feature, or you can check it out. But if I were to think about whom to start with and whom to look at, I think it would be them. Yeah, something like that.
Alrighty. Sorry, Sven, for cutting you off there. Yeah, time is up. There is a coffee break coming up. So I would suggest that everyone grabs a cup of coffee and then goes back to the lounge area of this AirMeet conference. This is also the place where you can hopefully bump into Sven and shoot some more questions in his direction. Sven, thank you very much for joining us today. Thanks for your session. And thanks everyone for joining. And I wish you a very, very splendid rest of the Mautic Conference Global 2024. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining. Thanks for having me.